Hi, good morning. How are you today? Were you able to sleep well last night? All right. Okay, that's good to hear. How about breakfast? Were you able to have your breakfast? Okay. By the way, this morning we have another brand new topic, which is about Theravada Buddhism. Now, what is Theravada Buddhism? By the way, originating in the historical expanse of India, Theravada Buddhism sets itself apart as a unique branch of Buddhism that strictly adheres to the original teachings of Gautama Buddha. It significantly distinguishes itself from various other Buddhist schools that juxtapose Buddhist doctrines with the philosophies of other eminent Buddhist figures. So, Theravada Buddhism carves its position as a singular entity within the spectrum of hundreds of diverse Buddhist practices. So, as Buddhism continued to spread throughout India after the Buddha's parinirvana, various interpretations of the original teachings emerged, leading to the division of within the monastic community and the rise up to 18 different Buddhist sects. So one of the sects eventually initiated a reform movement and self-identified as the Mahayana, which is the greater vehicle, and this led to the diminishing of another sect, considered less significant, known as Hinayana, the lesser vehicle, which we refer to as the Theravada Buddhism today, as the sole surviving school of these ancient non-Mahayana traditions. And to avoid the disrespectful connotations of using the terms Hinayana and Mahayana, more neutral language is now employed to refer these two main branches of Buddhism, since Theravada Buddhism historically dominated Southern Asia. It is often called Southern Buddhism, while Mahayana, which spread north from India to China, Tibet, and Korea, is referred to as Northern Buddhism. So critical aspects of Theravada Buddhism are steeped in ritualistic and contemplative practices, such as the sutra chanting and meditation, along with sacrificial offerings with designated temples. And these practices embody the spiritual and philosophical underpinnings of this sect. So, a salient belief within the Theravada Buddhism asserts the notion that attainment of nirvana, which is the state of symbolizing perfect enlightenment, is immediately accessible only to monks. Conversely, lay people, whilst remaining integral to the community, are understood to have the potential to cultivate karmic merit, in enabling a more advantageous rebirth of the succeeding life. So this dichotomy underscores the path of spiritual progression within the Theravada Buddhism tradition. Alright, so we'll go to the history of Theravada Buddhism. So, unsang giday ni siya Theravada Buddhism? By the way, Theravada Buddhism, also known as the doctrine of elders, is the oldest and the most orthodox form of Buddhism. So it traces its origin back to the teachings of Sakyamuni Buddha in the 5th century BC and the subsequent codification of his teachings in the Pali Canon, the authoritative scripture of the Theravada Buddhism. Okay. So the period of Theravada Buddhism refers to the doctrines that were transmitted directly from the time of Buddha's enlightenment, that were passed down for 3 or 4 generations until after his parinirvana, a time when the internal Buddhist community had not yet differentiated and the ideology remained unified. So the timeline can be calculated as follows. So if Buddha passed away in 486 BC and he lived to be 8 years old, then he was born in 565 BC. He attained the enlightenment at the age of 30, which would be in 530 BC. Buddhism divided into different sects about 100 years later. Okay, so after the Nirvana. So therefore we can determine the time frame of the first period from 530 BC to 370 BC. So in centuries following the death of Gautama Buddha, various Buddhist schools emerged within its own interpretation of the Buddha's teaching. So at first, Buddhist council convened short after Buddha's death. His teachings were systematically recorded by his direct disciples, and over the next few centuries, significant philosophical differences led to the second and third Buddhist councils, resulting to the establishment of the distinct schools of Buddhism. Okay. So today, Theravada Buddhism continues to play a very important role in Southern Asia, with its socio-cultural fabric, while also gaining followers around the world. As a school of thought, it remains committed to the path of self-liberation through insight and mindfulness, as taught by Gautama Buddha over 2 millennia ago. Okay. So that's what happened. By the way, we will talk about the language used by Buddhism, or Theravada Buddhism. So the primary language used in Theravada Buddhism is Pali, which is an ancient Indian language closely related to Sanskrit. It is the language in which the Tipitaka, which is the sacred scriptures of Theravada Buddhism, was written down. So during the Buddha's time, of his sermons were memorized by Ananda. Immediately after Buddha's death, about 480 BC, the community of monks and Ananda were assembled to recite all the teachings they had during the 45 years of Buddha's enlightenment. So each lesson, or what we call sutta, began with the sentence Ivam mi sutta, I have heard so. Okay? So each lesson began with the sentence Ivam mi sutta, meaning I have heard so. So the teachings were transmitted orally within the Sangha community for hundreds of years until the rebirth of the Tripitaka. So Pali was originally a spoken language, so it did not have its own alphabet. It was not until around 100 BC that the Tripitaka was first written down by the monks in Sri Lanka, who used the Pali font in the form of the Brahmi script. And since then, the Tripitaka has been translated into many other languages, including the Devanagari, Thai, Burmese, Roman, Cyrillic, and more. Although English translations of the Tripitaka are popular today, many Theravada Buddhist monks still learn Pali to deepen their understanding and accurate appreciation of Buddha's teaching. And the exact authenticity of the Tripitaka cannot be proven. Unlike the scriptural text of any other world religion that are acknowledged as truth revealed by a prophet and fully accepted by faith. So instead, the doctrines of the Pali Canon must be evaluated directly through each individual experience so that they can find the most accurate answer for themselves. So to this day, the Pali Canon has survived for centuries as an indispensable guide for millions of Buddhists in their quest for enlightenment. Now we'll go to the beliefs. The beliefs of Theravada Buddhism. Okay. So as its core, Theravada Buddhism is founded on the Four Noble Truths. The doctrine that Gautama Buddha is believed to have realized upon achieving enlightenment. Okay. So the first one under this is the dukkha, or suffering. So this truth acknowledges that life is marked by suffering, dissatisfaction, and impermanence. So it encompasses everything from the subtleties of dissatisfaction to the most severe forms of physical and mental pain. Na ba di ay walay suffering? Tanawa ko niyo yung palibot. There is this death, people are always going to hospitals. Sige pa check up, okay? Muna ilahang sulti that this life, this acknowledges that life is marked by suffering. Kisa may ganahan ninyo diha na dili na lang aning life because it is full of suffering. Okay. The next case is samudaya. Okay, this is another form of truth. Samudaya, there is this cause of suffering. This truth states that the root cause of suffering is the tanha, or the desire, which can be further classified into sensual, existential, and ignorance-based desires. It is first the thirst for clinging to pleasurable experiences, existing perpetually, or not understanding the true nature of reality. Na cause of suffering, right? Yes, there is this cause of suffering. Ano man? One is, the first reason is sensual. Kanang kalami na di nagsugod, no? Ang kanang gitawag na to cause of suffering. Okay. And then, sa pagyod, existential. Kanang naana sa tuadaan. Okay? Ug katong sa man, wala ta kebalo. Ignorance based. Daghan kay mga butang wa ta kebalo niya atong natistingan sa kinabuhi. So that can be what? A cause of what? Suffering. Now the third noble truth is nirodha. There is this what? Cessation of suffering. So this truth explains that it is possible to end suffering by extinguishing its causes, leading to a state of ultimate peace known as nirvana or nibbana. So ato pa ang kanidi ang suffering that is happening around us is caused by something. And this can be extinguished, okay? This can have this cessation of suffering by what? By extinguishing its causes that leads to the ultimate peace known as nirvana. Okay? Alright. Now the next one is the magga or magga. There is this path to cessation of suffering. So this truth lays out the path leading to the end of suffering known as the Eightfold Path. So this comprises right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, and right mindfulness, and right concentration. This is what? This is the truth. If you do things right, according to Theravada Buddhism, there is this what? The truth, the suffering that one is experiencing his lifetime will cease to exist. Di ba nindot no? Nindot kayo ang ilahang kuan, ilahang thought. By the way, Theravada Buddhism places a significant emphasis on the Sangha, or the monastic community. Monks and nuns renounce worldly life and commitments, dedicating themselves entirely to the pursuit of enlightenment. They follow the Vinaya Pitaka, a portion of the Pali Canon that outlines monastic rules and discipline. And central to the Theravada belief is the concept of anatta, or the non-self. It posits that there is no enduring, unchanging self or soul, rejecting the concept of permanent identity. It implies that all phenomena, including the self, are impermanent, subject to change, and devoid of static essence. So in line with this, Theravada Buddhism also highlights the concept of anicca, or the impermanence, teaching that all conditioned phenomena are transient, and dukkha, which is the suffering or the unsatisfactoriness, is inherent in life. So in Theravada Buddhists also believe in karma, suggesting the intentional actions have corresponding positive or negative consequences. Actions performed in this life can bear fruit in the in this life or in the next, contributing to the cycle of birth, death, and what? Rebirth, which is called the samsara. However, the ultimate goal in Theravada Buddhism is achieving the nibbana or the nirvana, a state beyond suffering and the cycles of rebirth, marking an end to what? To samsara. This state is achieved by following the noble eightfold path, cultivating moral virtue, is called sila, mindfulness and meditation, the samadhi, and wisdom, pana. So it's worth noting that while Theravada Buddhism encourages individual pursuit of enlightenment, it also values and promotes compassion, loving kindness, and generosity towards others. Despite its emphasis on monastic life, lay followers are a vital part of the community, supporting the Sangha and practicing ethical conduct, generosity, and mindfulness in their daily life. Okay. So, ana ang ngana ilang belief. Alright. We have the dukkha, we have the samudaya, nirvana, magga. Okay. So I talked about this over just a while ago. Okay. So we'll go to their core teachings. Okay. So I already mentioned most of this, but we'll try to go over. Okay. So the Four Noble Truths. So muna ilang yung pinaka-core. The Four Noble Truths. Okay, so you have the dukkha. Life is permitted with suffering, dissatisfaction, and impermanence. The samudaya. The origin of suffering lies in the desire of craving, the tanha, which is rooted in the ignorance of the true nature of reality. The next, under the Noble Truth, is nirodha, the cessation of suffering, by eliminating desire, kanto gana sa kinabuhi. And the magga, the way to eliminate the desire and suffering, is what? The use of the Eightfold Path. So we have the Eightfold Path here. Okay, this is divided into three. We have the wisdom, ethical conduct, and concentration. Okay, so wisdom, right understanding, and right thought. Okay, next is the ethical conduct. We have the right speech, right action, right livelihood, and concentration. You can have their right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The third of their core beliefs is the anatta. I mentioned this in brief, no? So one of the key distinguishing features of Buddhism is what? Is this anatta. So this asserts that the perception of self is an illusion arising from aggregation of the five aggregates. We have form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. We also have anicca, the impermanence. Okay, so it is in the understanding of all the phenomena, whether physical or mental. These are what? These are subject to change. Nothing in this world is permanent. Okay, true or false? Pwede ba nga sigil mo bata? Di ba mutubo yun mo? Di ba? You are not permanent. Even ang iyong kalipay, karon nalipay mo, and later on, masad mo. There's nothing permanent. Okay? Muna ilang bilis. Nindot kayo, no? And then, the fifth is dukkha, the suffering. Life, according to Buddhism, is inherently unsatisfactory and fraught with suffering. Nindot po kayo na suffering. Then we have karma and rebirth. Okay? This refers that the moral law of cause and effect. We have what? Our intentions. Our actions have consequences. Di ginato na siya mag-go away with. And we have the nibbana, which is the ultimate goal of Buddhism. This is a state of liberation and ultimate peace that lies beyond where? Suffering. No? That lies beyond suffering. Okay. Okay. So these teachings form the foundation of the Theravada Buddhism, guiding its followers and you, the listeners, towards ethical living, understanding, and ultimately the attainment of what? Nirvana. Okay, so they have questions. They have questions kuno. Okay, pangutana that I may be able to answer. Okay, so if you have questions, kindly write in the comments. Okay, comments na lang. By the way, class, I want you to uh, listen and view the videos I have sent to you, because it will be able to help you deal life. It will help you, this subject, this world religion subject, it will help you have this mindset, no? Mindset of being good in the world full of chaos. Again, my goal is ako gining gihaguan making this for you want to have this right, no? Right concept of the thing that what we call life. Alright, so for your questions, write in the comments. Lumi will be following shortly. Okay. As nasa tagadit. Okay, thank you for listening. Have a blessed day. Good morning.